Hi, I'm Lucy.
Hi, I'm Jacob.
My name is Malene.
And I'm Alex.
And we are here today to react to LGBT plus mental health stats.
Right, so the first one we've got is, in 2018, what percentage of LGBT plus people experience depression? Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Especially if you've grown up and trying to comprehend your own sort of sexuality or gender. It's quite confusing for a lot of people, and I think if there's a lack of support for them, it can be quite difficult. So yeah, I too think it's quite high, which is really sad.
There's still a lot of that community that are going through a lot more than they should.
Still quite high, so yeah, it'd be something nice to sort of target and get people talking about it and giving people support so that it is.
Getting a lot more people supporting it.
LGBT plus people are how many more times likely to develop depression and anxiety compared to the rest of the population?
A lot.
The impression I have is that because you have to be considering so many more things and so many different things so young, and you have to kind of in some ways grow up so much earlier.
It's something you're dealing with often alone, and you're often scared of the reactions of people around you when you are young, and that's when you're often at your most vulnerable.
Yeah, even if you are lucky enough to grow up in a family that's accepting and that kind of thing, I think that unintentionally is bound to impact you.
I think honestly, if anything, that just kind of speaks to how many people probably have anxiety and depression.
Because my impression was that it was kind of just the community that I spend a lot of time in.
Yeah, if we know a lot of people in the community deal with those things and it's not that much higher, that must mean a lot of people deal with that.
Yeah.
What percentage of trans people have thought about taking their own life in the last year?
So this one's thought, so it might be quite a lot higher.
With trans people, this transitioning doesn't have to necessarily be medical. Trans people include non-binary people and gender fluid people. So I think this one might be a little bit higher just because that is a massive step. You're completely changing identity, I guess, and becoming the person who you really are is a really big, difficult sort of step. So I'm going to go 40% of trans people.
I think I want to go 50. I think it'll be quite high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were close.
Yeah.
But yeah, 46 is obviously a lot higher. Being a trans person and going through that transition state is confusing for a lot of people and is really difficult. And it's a shame that people think this is the way out because there is a lot of support out there. The various charities and groups that can help you with transition.
There's a lot of help. Like with uni, we have the on-site doctors, and then there's a wellbeing centre as well on top of that you can go to and get support.
Blank percent of LGBT plus people aged 18 to 24 said they've attempted suicide in the last year.
My go-to answer would be 10%, so I think it's probably a bit higher than that though.
I'm trying to picture what 13% is in my head. It's unfortunately not shocking. I think it puts it in perspective. There's a big step between thinking of it and then attempting it.
The number of groups marching in London Pride increased by what percentage?
I would hope this one's quite high. London Pride's quite a big one.
Yeah, I think it was nearly 1 million people.
I don't know if I'm going to go too high or too low.
I think it's one of those things where even though there's so many people, even a 5% increase.
Maybe if it's that big of an event, maybe 10%.
32 is a lot bigger than I thought it would be.
Yeah, that's a lot more people anyway.
Which is good because I can imagine that sort of the target for Pride, as well as sort of getting LGBT plus people to attend, is also trying to get more sort of allies to sort of educate themselves a bit about the community.
From my personal experience, my parents were a bit worried about how I would come out at uni, and actually there wasn't really any need. I just kind of told people I had a girlfriend at the time, and there was no further discussion. I mean, I was out to all of my family when I moved away, but for me it was kind of one of the biggest plus points of moving away is that if that wasn't the case, if I didn't feel that I could do that, I could still kind of be completely open and completely out and completely free.
It can be really helpful to kind of engage with some of the communities that exist within the university.
The societies, they're good if you're making those initial connections with people that have probably had very similar experiences to you. And Freshers Week, I seem to remember that there was an LGBT night.
I hear the story quite often that when people go away to university, it's one of the first times that they actually find themselves within the LGBT plus community. So just remembering that happens really often. So there's no reason why it shouldn't happen to you. If you haven't had the opportunity, there are very visible groups at the university.
Whether you're either coming into university either completely in the closet, if you're sort of transitioning at university, transition before university, whatever it may be, it's really not something to sort of be scared about at university because it's adult life and there's sort of a lot of people about that can really sort of help you and direct you in the right the right direction. And also things like reporting hate crime.
Just know that you're coming to a university who cares about that, and there's like a zero tolerance policy.
And I think it's obviously looking at like more representation in sort of like film and TV and sport all comes into sort of making society a little bit more open and people feeling more comfortable. Moving to university is a massive deal, and it's really difficult for a lot of people. And then you add sort of on top of that some people being LGBT+ as well, and not knowing if there is a support or a network they can join. It makes that even harder. Just being sort of true to yourself, going out there and sort of actively seeking people that are similar to you and making those sort of connections is really important.